Welcome back to Baking from Books. For our first June video, we're making Pride Flag cupcakes, and I'm going to compare box mixes to from-scratch recipes. The book that inspired this recipe is The Heartbreak Bakery by A.R. Capetta. It's a young adult comedy of errors / coming-of-age story packed with LGBTQ+ representation and delicious recipes. In it, a baker named Sid discovers a magical baking ability to influence emotions. After distributing breakup brownies, Sid and a bike messenger named Harley have to go on a mission to fix all the relationships that got broken. And they find love along the way. It's adorable, and it ends with a pride bake-off where Sid makes these cupcakes. I fell in love with this book, and I recommend it to aspiring bakers like me because it includes not only recipes, but tips and tricks on how to bake better. It's also a good read if you're not very familiar with gender diversity and the etiquette that goes with it. Sid doesn't like to be referred to with pronouns, and Harley alternates pronouns, indicating the day's pronouns with pins on a messenger bag. If you'd like to understand how these things work in the real world, this is a great place to start. When I was practicing, I used a basic white cake box mix, and I do recommend that if you don't like baking from scratch. All you have to do is use milk instead of water, add an extra egg and some vanilla extract, and there's almost no difference from made from scratch cupcakes. Homemade frosting is a plus, but I don't want to do that. There's 1,000 ways to make a box mix extra delicious, and it's very convenient, so don't let anybody make you feel bad about using a box mix. Here is the fancy from scratch version, Callan style. Obviously, prep both your oven and your cupcake pan. I don't like paper liners, so I'm just using cooking spray. I also discovered that I get bored filling a 12 cup, what is this called? A 12 cup cupcake pan? I don't know. I don't like using the regular size, so I'm using a jumbo because it doesn't take as long and I don't get bored. In one bowl, mix up your dry ingredients. Give those a stir. In another bowl, go your wet ingredients. And you whisk these together. Now for the fancy bit, beating butter and sugar together until light and fluffy. To do this right, leave your butter out on the counter for about an hour at room temperature, and then you mix it on moderate speed for 2 to 3 minutes with the sugar. You want it to be softened but not super melted. There's very specific reasons for this. And I will link to the resources on how to do this professionally and what can go wrong. So you take your sugar, and your butter. Today I'm using a hand mixer because I had a lot of things to bring, and I think it's worth learning how to do it with a hand mixer because not everybody can afford or wants to invest in a big stand mixer. 2 to 3 minutes on like a moderate speed. You don't need a super high speed, I don't think. Now in my case, the butter was too soft, and so it's clinging to the sides of the bowl, and it's supposed to be much more separate than that. So that's why you don't want your butter too soft. You also want to leave your eggs out room temperature for 30 to 60 minutes to make sure that they're room temperature as well. Apparently there's specific reasons why that's better. So you take your eggs and you add them one at a time, mixing completely in between each egg until all 3 are added. Now it's time to add in the dry and wet ingredients from earlier, and you do it a little bit at a time, alternating the dry and the wet mixture until both are completely combined. But you don't want to overmix it, so don't mix too long. Okay, that's good enough because I'm bored. I will say that that's very time consuming, but this batter is richer and thicker than box mix batter for me, so I don't know if it's the addition of butter as well as vegetable oil, but you might want to add butter to it as well if you want a really rich, fancy feeling batter like this. Now it's time for the fun part where you actually make the pride flag colors. So this is the part that takes some math, where you have to divide your batter into separate bowls and add food coloring. If you know a way to divide it up evenly for exactly the amount you need, I am all ears because I am just eyeballing it. I have done rainbow flag cupcakes, and they are fun and very beautiful to look at, but it's a lot of stirring, it's a lot of dirty bowls, and the math is even harder to divide up for that many colors. So this time I'm doing the transgender pride flag, which is just blue, pink, and white, to minimize the effort a little bit. So you add some blue to one, not too much because you want it to be an almost pastel blue. And just a little bit of red so that it doesn't get dark, but it stays pink. And adjust as needed, obviously. I'd like to do the non-binary or the agender pride flags, but both of those flags, and also the asexual flag, has a black stripe in it, and I just don't know that black is extremely appetizing in a cupcake, and I'm not sure whether you can get black food coloring, so that's the other reason I decided to go with a pastel flag for this one. Pretty close. Mix up our pink. See, and that's almost a pinky color. So that's perfect. And this one, we just leave white for the center stripe. Because in the trans pride flag, the blue stripes are for boys, because blue is the traditional color for boys. And the pink stripes are because it's traditional color for girls, but the white stripe in the middle is to represent non-binary, intersex, and questioning trans people. So it's a very inclusive flag. I'm going to put a little bit of blue in the bottom of all the cups, then a little bit of pink, then white, pink, and then blue again. I discovered about halfway through my practice batch that the 6 cups are wildly overfilled, so that would be another reason to do the 12 or to do multiple batches. I'm lazy, so I'm not going to do that, but you could, and it would be better for the level of the cupcakes. My math was really bad this time, so I ran out of blue. But again, the colors will roughly be there. Now they're ready, so you bake them at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes. If you're doing jumbo like this, it's liable to be closer to 25 minutes. You want a toothpick to come out clean when you insert it in the center of a cupcake. After 15 to 20 minutes, when they're all done baking, they'll look something like this. As you can see, I had a few issues with mine. They sank in my practice batch, they sank in the middle, but the flag is still there in the center, albeit sunken. You want to make sure they cool all the way before you frost them, because melted frosting is just a tragedy that we don't need. And then I really recommend buttercream frosting. Again, I don't care enough to make my own frosting, so canned frosting is fine, but buttercream is extremely good with these cupcakes, although it does make a very rich cake. I'm going to give a quick taste test because somebody in the past was sad that I didn't taste them. So even though this is a sunken one, I'm going to see how it is. I don't want to waste frosting, and I don't want to take the time to frost them all right now. But I can tell you how the cake part is, which is the important part. When you're doing it from scratch, I want to know that it was worth it to do all of that. Delicious. Now, if you make your own pride flag cupcakes, please share the picture with us. I want to see how you do it and what flags you create with your creativity and your own, hopefully better mental math than mine. Happy reading, happy baking, and happy pride.